Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners Issues and Updates meeting for December 3rd, 2024. County Administrator Gary Schmidt, please take the roll.
Thank you, Chair. Roll call. Commissioner Savas.
Present.
Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Commissioner West.
Here.
Commissioner Shull.
Here.
Chair Smith.
Here. And
Thank you.
Gary, we're going to move right to a personnel issue.
Yes, that's
Right.
not listed. This is compensation for county council.
I will accept a motion.
Chair, I move that we approve a 5% increase for county council salary starting January 1st.
Second.
Commissioner West has made a motion to, for a merit increase for Jane Beto, our Chief County Counsel, for a 5% merit increase starting January 1st, 2025. Commissioner Savas has seconded the motion. Is there further discussion? And the reason for the merit increase is based on her extraordinary performance in the last 6 months, on the reorganization and future organization of her office, her work with the department heads, departments, and she's going to add a new line of business to County Council, which will be quite profitable. And with that in mind, we, the Board of County Commissioners, look kindly on that type of activity. Commissioner West.
I think that it's important when you recognize exemplary service and somebody showing up and bringing all their talents, working hard, doing the best they can for the county, that they are rewarded with better salary and better opportunity. And so in the last 6 months, in a way that I have rarely seen in a professional setting, Ms. Beto has exemplified those things, and she has brought an immense amount of merit and talent to this county. And so I think that she is well deserving of this 5% increase, and we thank you for your service and hope it lasts here for a long time. Thank you.
Commissioner Shull.
Yes, good morning, Councilor Beto. I appreciate your work. You've done an outstanding job, and I am sure that your efforts in your office will save the county much more money than this increase represents. And thank you very much.
Commissioner Schrader.
It's been a privilege and a delight to work with you, Jane, and I'm glad that we can move forward with this.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge Councilor Veto's work ethic and her passion towards the work. It's much appreciated.
Thank you, Commissioners, for your kind comments. Any comment from Jane?
I just want to say thank you. It's been an honor to serve in this, and I appreciate working with all of you, with the departments, and look forward to serving the county going forward.
Thank you very much. Seeing no further comment, would the clerk please take the poll, excuse me.
Commissioner Shull.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Madam Chair.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much, Commissioners. Commissioner Schrader.
Folks, I do have to leave early today. I'm going to be representing you on the board at the National Association of Counties. I'll be attending the Rural Action Caucus as well as the Large Urban County Caucus. And I'll be bringing tools back as part of a prosperity initiative in terms of how we delve down into where are the areas in our county that need the most help. And I will love to talk to you about that when I return. Thank you for holding down the fort, and it's also been a pleasure working with all of you, I have to say. Okay.
Thank you for attending this morning and taking out time. Enjoy your business trip. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gary, what's up next?
Thank you, Chair. Back to the printed agenda. Chair, would you please convene as the Housing Authority of Clackamas County Board?
I will recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Housing Authority Board for Clackamas County.
This is request for consent agenda for the Housing Authority of Clackamas County. Item 1, approval of a personal services contract with DDV Consulting Services for relocation of public housing residents. Total contract value is $600,000 for 4 years. Funding is through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. No county general funds are involved. Housing Commissioner Leenstra is not able to join you today, so it's just you, Commissioners. Rod Cook, Director of Health, Housing, Human Services, and Shannon, I forgot your last name. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning. Shannon Callahan, Housing Authority of Clackamas County Executive Director.
All right, go ahead, please.
And I'm actually going to hand the mic over to Shannon so she can give you a brief update on what we're doing.
Go ahead, thank you.
Thank you. The Housing Authority is requesting your approval of a contract with DDV Consulting for relocation services to support our public housing repositioning. We received 3 responses to our RFP, and after careful consideration, we selected DDV Consulting Services. This contract would be valid for 3 years if you approve it, and has a value not to exceed $600,000, paid with federal funds. DDV Consulting would manage our relocation of our remaining public housing households, doing the coordination, planning, conducting resident meetings, providing relocation advisory services, as well as facilitating the moves for residents, who will be provided a tenant protection voucher and have the right to return to any redeveloped property under construction. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, good morning. This morning, the total contract value is $600K for 4 years, but in your documentation, it says for up to 3 years, which is correct?
3 years.
Okay, thank you.
Does that change need to be made, Gary, by Thursday?
Well, we will change it for the Thursday business meeting, correct?
Okay.
My apologies. Thank you for catching that.
We have time for Thursday. Thank you, Commissioner Scholl. Further discussion on this item? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you. Chair, would you please convene as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Board?
I will recess as I'll adjourn as the Housing Authority of Clackamas County and convene as the North Clackamas County Parks and Recreation District.
This is request for consent agenda for the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. Item 1, approval of a goods and services contract with HMS Commercial Service for HVAC equipment and maintenance. Total contract value is $313,002 for 5 years. Funding through the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District General Fund. No county general funds are involved. Chiaselli, Director of the Parks District. Go ahead.
Thank you, Gary. Good morning, Chair Smith and directors. My name is Chiaselli. I'm the Director of North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. This morning, I am here to request board approval of a contract for maintenance and repairs of mechanical and HVAC equipment at 3 NCPRD facilities, the Milwaukee Community Center, the North Clackamas Aquatic Park, and the soon-to-open, in fall of 2025, the renovated Community Center at the Concord property. Preventative maintenance and timely repairs will maximize the life of the equipment and help minimize disruptions to the community. The vendor, HMS Commercial Service, was selected through a competitive request for proposal process. This contract is for a period of 3 years with 3 one-year extensions. The annual cost for maintaining 3 facilities is approximately $84,000. So the total in your board report is for the 3 years, I just want to note. And the cost of repairs is capped at $20,000 annually. So again, the total value of this contract is just over $313,000 for those 3 years. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments? Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, good morning. The $20K per year repair costs, is that included or is that in addition to the $313,000?
Thank you for that question, Director Scholl. That's included in that total cost.
Okay, and so this is a set contract for services for each year and not based on a as-needed, as-billed contract?
Correct. So this is a maximum not to exceed figure.
Oh, it's a maximum not to exceed. Okay, good, thank you.
Further questions? Seeing no objections, thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you. The Water Environment Services item I'm going to pull until next week because we have a sequencing issue, but that will come back to you next week, so that is off the agenda. Chair, would you please reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners?
I will recess as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District and reconvene as a Board of County Commissioners.
Next is request for consent agenda for the Board of County Commissioners. First, Finance Department, item 1, approval of a board order adopting a supplemental budget resolution for fiscal year 2025. Total net increase of appropriations is $3,527,064. Funding is through charges for services, federal, state, and local grants, bond and other debt revenue, inter-fund transfers, and other revenue sources. No county general funds are involved. Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director, go ahead.
Thank you, Gary. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director. According to Oregon budget law, we do need to take any additional above appropriations to you before spending. And so this is our second supplemental budget resolution request to you for the fiscal year 24-25. There are 7 items with a total increase of about $3.5 million. 6 funds and 4 departments are impacted. The first items, 1 and 2, are in the general fund. The Sheriff's Office is closing their enhanced law enforcement program that's been sitting in general fund and moving those funds, approximately $7 million, to a miscellaneous pass-through for payroll. This is how we handle other payrolls for our other component units as NCPRD. I'm drawing a blank, but that's how we handle, and West, excuse me, so for our water environment services. That's very common practice. Item number 3, our countywide transportation system development charges fund. We're reducing the contingency and increasing transfers to cover project costs of approximately $147,000. Item number 4 is in our special grants fund, which holds our ARPA dollars. We're reducing operating expenses and increasing special payments for projects that have occurred of about $1 million. And item number 5 is Health, Housing, and Human Services. They have 3 lines of business, and we're going to be recognizing additional revenue from federal and state grants and other interfund transfers, and then reducing special payments to increase operating expenses for personnel and program costs, and also increasing contingency. Those are totaling $1.3 million. Item number 6 is a Clackamas Broadband Utility Fund, and we're recognizing additional beginning fund balance of about $56,000 to increase operating expenses for computer maintenance work. And our final item is number 7 in the Technology Services Fund, is to recognize, again, additional beginning fund balance and increasing operating expenses for about $1 million. And then we're also going to increase reserves for future replacements of about $1.1 million. And that those are the supplemental requests at this time.
Questions or comments from the presenter? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, disaster management. Item 1, approval of a subrecipient grant agreement with Clackamas County Fire District Number 1 for wildfire risk reduction. Total agreement value is $549,356 for 2 years. Funding is through the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Bureau of Land Management. No county general funds are involved. Daniel Neibauer, Disaster Management Director. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners, Administrator Smith. This is a subrecipient grant agreement. This is using our Secure Rural Funds, Title III funds that are used for wildfire mitigation and reduction, and we'll be partnering with Clackamas Fire District, and they will be supporting an individual on the Wildfire Collaborative for about 1.5 years and doing some debris disposal as well as fuel reductions, work crew, and other miscellaneous costs associated with that.
Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, good morning. Title III, is that required to be used for this purpose? Or do we have an option to use it for schools and roads?
Title III is for use for wildfire response and wildfire mitigation.
Oh, it is. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 2, approval of an amendment to a subrecipient grant agreement with the City of Portland for an air support, thermal camera, and election staff security. Amendment value is $291,000 for 2 years. Total agreement value is $421,832 for 2 years. Funding is through the City of Portland. No county general funds are involved.
This is a recurring grant that we get from the Department of Homeland Security on the Urban Area Security Initiative, and we are getting 2 additional projects and kind of shifting the monies around from fiscal year 23 and 24. And one is for the air support thermal camera, and the other is to get some election security items that the clerk has put in as a project.
Questions or comments for the presenter? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you. Next, Technology Services. Item 1, approval of a board order to authorize a purchase order with CDWG for cyber disaster cloud storage recovery. Total contract value is $741,034.86 for 3 years. Funding is through county-approved American Rescue Plan Act funds and $211,077 of budgeted departmental cost allocations, which does include a small portion of budgeted county general funds. Linu Parapilli, Director of Technology Services, go ahead.
Thank you, Gary. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. This is to request your approval for the purchase and implementation of 1111 systems, that is for cloud services for disaster recovery. As the board is aware, and with your support, we have been putting in a lot of effort into disaster recovery functionalities and systems. And so this system, 1111 Systems, provides a site with cloud-based servers on standby for us with our critical subset of servers, always updated. So in case we have something were to happen to our on-premise data center, we will be able to turn on the service very quickly and have access to our most critical services that is needed by the county. So this request is to have that platform purchased. Total contract value is $741,034.86 for 38-month contract with CDWG Cooperative Agreement. The funding is through ARPA and Department allocation, cost allocation. ARPA would be funding $529,957.02 through the end of calendar year 2026. That is when ARPA funding has to be used up. And the rest of the funding of $211,077.88 will be through department cost allocation in fiscal year 26-27. We also have put in a $40,000 in potential burst cost, that is, in case we have a need to do some work. In the meantime, we have the authority to spend only as needed for the usage of it. So we request your approval for the purchase of this system.
Questions or comments on this issue? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 2, approval of a board order to authorize a purchase order with SHI International for cloud backup services. Total contract value is $54,969.04 for 1 year. Funding is through county-approved American Rescue Plan Act funds and $23,061.88 of budgeted departmental cost allocations, which does include a small portion of budgeted county general funds.
So this request is to approve an amendment to an existing contract to extend Cetera services for an additional 1-year term. Cetera is a cloud-based software that provides disaster recovery capabilities for our on-premise file servers. So whatever that is sitting on our S drive, H drive, which is unstructured data, so this software provides disaster recovery capabilities for those. And it also enables us to have effective, secure file access, collaboration, and sharing. Total contract value for all 3 years is $175,044 through a cooperative contract through a SHI. This particular amendment, which I am requesting your approval, the contract value for is $54,969.04. Funding is again through ARPA and some departmental allocation, $32,286.63 through ARPA funding, and $22,682.41 through departmental cost allocation. Request your approval for this one.
Questions or comments? Commissioner West.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not really techie at all. You can ask my teenage son, and he will attest to that. There's 2 different cloud services going on here. Can you explain to me, they both seem to kind of deal in the same sphere, but I don't understand if they overlap or why they have to be different, and so creating an additional expense.
Absolutely. That's a good question because there are a lot of similar sounding requests coming in for disaster recovery purpose. So the 1111 systems that we just talked about, that is to have a site already ready with some servers standby always updated with our data. That is not everything that we have in the county. That is only what we have identified as our most critical services that should be up and running in case we have a disaster, either natural or man-made. It is very cost prohibitive to have everything on something like that. So there is another project that is also ARPA funded that is going on, that is to identify what are those essential functions, life and safety, health related, those kind of things. So that is that. So the first one is for that. So it doesn't give all of it. It's just the essential services, something to turn on. If we don't have that, what we would have to do is to procure hardware, build it, then restore data from our backup, which of course takes a lot of time. So that is what that is for. This particular one, Cetera, allows us to have unstructured data, which means all our files, our documents, Excel, PowerPoint, Word document, images, all of them sitting there, which is not in a database in a server. These are all in our file servers. So this particular technology is to have a home for that in the cloud so that we have access to it for disaster recovery purposes. So different types of needs. Similar end goal, disaster recovery, and have access in cloud.
So can you once again explain what unstructured data means? I don't know. I've never heard that before.
So unstructured data is what we usually refer to for our Word documents, PowerPoint documents, Excel spreadsheets, and all that are sitting on a file server. Structured data, we usually refer to them as the ones that are sitting in a database that is attached to a system. So if, for example, we have a public safety system, it would have a database at the back end with the data stored in the database. So when we back up the server, those data is backed up along with that. So, but on the other side, when we have our tons and tons of files that are sitting on any of our network servers that are not structured and put it in a database, it's just there. So those needs a different type of technology to manage.
Okay, got it. Okay. Thank you. That answers my question.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing no objections, thank you.
A quick pause, Commissioners. I'm hearing now from multiple departments what's listed as the consent agenda item is not what the directors are saying. So we have a communication gap here that we're going to fix. And we'll make sure the information is accurate by this Thursday's board meeting.
Okay.
I'll make sure that happens. Moving forward, item 3, approval of a board order to authorize a purchase order to SHI International for authentication systems and enhanced customer support. Total contract value is $258,195.13 for 2 years. Funding is through county-approved American Rescue Plan Act funds and $186,225.17 of budgeted department cost allocations, which does include a small portion of budgeted county general funds.
So this request is for your approval of a 2-year contract to purchase Secure Oath so we can continue using that platform. Secure Oath is our identity and access management platform that provides our multi-factor authentication. So when we log in, we get a alert on our phone to approve that, to make sure that we are reducing identity-related breaches. So that is what that multi-factor authentication does. Originally implemented in March of 2021, earlier this year, in March of 2024, we used initial ARPA funding to migrate again for disaster resilient purposes to a hybrid cloud model, which allows us to use it both on-prem and in cloud. So this total contract value is $258,195.13 for 2-year term. ARPA is funding $71,969.96 through the end of calendar year 2026. The remaining $186,225.17 will be paid by the budgeted departmental cost allocations.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Actually, I have one.
Yes, go ahead.
So overall, this is not part of this particular one, but overall, when we dedicated $10 million of ARPA money towards expansion of broadband, how have we done there? Is this like the tail end of it? Or is there still remaining funds that have to be spent down?
So Commissioner Savas, this particular one is not using that CBX-related fund. So the next topic is, so this is the one additional funding that the board approved to use for disaster recovery purposes, cyber disaster recovery purposes.
Okay, so my the core question is that of the $10 million, is this next item the last of it, or is there still more to be spent down?
There is still more to be, that will be coming up in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good questions. Seeing no objections.
Item 4, approval of a contract with North Sky Communications for broadband expansion in the Marmot Road project area. Total contract value is $2,491,900 for 2 years. Funding is through county-approved American Rescue Act Plan funds. No county general funds are involved.
So this is the request for your approval for a contract with North Sky Communication LLC for the broadband expansion in the Marmot Road project area. So this includes both aerial as well as underground construction in the southeast Marmot area, which is northeast of City of Sandy. This construction is part of the broadband expansion that is funded and approved by the ARPA funding. The new construction will pass approximately 500 residential sites. The total contract value is $2,491,900 for 2 years. Funding is through the already board-approved ARPA funds. No county general funds are involved.
Thank you. Getting back to Commissioner Savas's question on the ARPA funding, were we able to leverage that through federal grants on any of these infrastructure upgrades, whether it be cloud storage or in-ground cable? Have we been applying for any federal help on this?
We have applied for federal other grants for cybersecurity as well as whatever that are available to us. We do make an effort to apply.
What about the in-ground cable for the last mile? There was a lot of talk, especially when I first came on as commissioner. Oh, we're going to, the federal government's going to do blah, 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 and there's going to be opportunities for us to apply to upgrade our infrastructure. Did that ever come to fruition? Applying for federal grants to help us laying cable.
I believe you are probably referring to BEAD grants.
What?
BEAD grant?
Grant?
Yeah, I think that is coming up early next year.
So the answer, Chair, is yes. We have applied for federal and state grants to leverage the broadband funds you have authorized. We're waiting for some answers from the state on the BEAD, B-E-A-D, BEAD grant. That's coming. Both staff has done that.
I mean, here it is, almost 2025. And this talk has been going on since 2020 and 2021, and we haven't got a cent. So I am more happy now than ever that we were able to allocate $10 million of our ARPA funds to get internet cable to underserved areas in Clackamas County. That was a very wise decision that this board made.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Scholl.
Good morning, Lanu. This $2.4 million over the next 2 years. Now, once that gets installed, am I correct that the local broadband providers will pay a fee or lease to utilize this cable? Is that right?
Yes, that is right.
Okay. And the other question I have for you is, not on this issue, but on your first 3 items. The total ARPA dollars in those is roughly about $1 million. But those 3 items are going to be ongoing into the future, and I just want to remind you that the ARPA dollars were a one-time manna from heaven opportunity that will go away here in the next year or so. And so I'm hoping you're looking at your budget for those following years on how you're going to finance these expensive softwares. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no objections.
Thank you.
All right, sorry. Next, Health, Housing, Human Services. Item 1, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Washington County for the Get Trained to Help Regional Collaborative. Total agreement value is $15,500 for 30 months. Funding is through the Oregon Health Plan. No county general funds are involved. Rod Cook, Director of Health, Housing, Human Services. Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. The primary goal of this grant is to support the Get Trained to Help Regional Collaborative, a partnership between Multnomah, Washington, and Clackamas. It's dedicated to the promotion of mental health literacy and the prevention of suicide efforts. This agreement will fund a shared website for mental health training and suicide prevention, fostering a collaborative network for counties to exchange resources, share best practices, and to develop effective strategies to enhance mental health, literacy, and suicide prevention efforts in the region.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 2, approval of an amendment to a subrecipient agreement with TriMet for statewide transportation improvement funds. Amendment value is $170,726 for 7 months. Total agreement value is $5,865,569 for 2 years. Funding is through statewide transportation improvement funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, additional payroll taxes were allocated for transportation improvements directed towards implementing projects outlined in the county's approved statewide transportation improvement plan designed to enhance public transportation services in both rural and urban areas. Under this agreement, we will provide 9,000 rides via 2 STIF-funded Mount Hood Express routes, 25,000 trips through the Clackamas Connects shuttle, and 50,000 rides for elderly and disabled individuals through the Transportation Reaching People program and senior centers.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 3, approval of a provider agreement with Care Oregon to designate Clackamas County as a services provider for the 1115 Medicaid Demonstration Waiver Program. Total agreement value is $75,000 for 1 year. Funding is through fee-for-service reimbursement from the U.S. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, the board will remember that it approved a similar agreement with HealthShare on 10/24 of this year. This federally approved waiver includes capacity building, funds and goods, and opens avenues for revenue generation through Medicaid billing. Clackamas County is well positioned to expand its service capacity by utilizing these federal resources, focusing on housing stability and healthcare integration. The county can bill Medicare for eligible services, generating revenue to support ongoing housing services.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 4, approval of a revenue grant from Trillium Community Health Plan for housing services under the 1115 Medicaid Demonstration Waiver activities. Total grant value is $243,532.66 for 3 years. Funding is through the U.S. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. No county general funds are involved.
Similar to the previous item, these funds establish new stable funding for housing retention in Clackamas County, which is entirely federal without state or county matching requirements. The contract covers various housing services in Clackamas County, including managing the housing continuum of care, coordinated entry system, rent assistance, eviction prevention, case management, and collaborations with community-based organizations to enhance service delivery and support for those in need.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Thank you. Next, Transportation and Development. Item 1, approval of a contract with Grade Works Excavating for the Laurie Avenue Drainage Improvement Project. Total contract value is $361,628 for 1 year. Funding is through county road funds. No county general funds are involved. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Chair Smith, Commissioners. We have a localized flooding and conveyance issues along Laurie Avenue. And essentially, this is a project to install 6 stormwater manholes, 6 catch basin inlets, and 930 feet of 12-inch diameter storm pipe, essentially to reduce this localized flooding, and it's essentially designed for the 10-year storm event. The project was advertised in accordance with ORS and LCRB rules on September 24th, 2024. We had 19 bidders, which was great.
Wow.
After review, Grade Works excavation was determined to be in the best interest of the county upon the evaluation of the bids. We are here to enter into this contract. It's a one-year contract, as Administrator Smith illustrated, and for a total value of $361,628. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Where is Laurie Avenue?
It is in the Oak Lodge area. Oak Grove area. Yeah.
Mr. Savage?
It's one of a number of projects that we're looking to do to improve conveyance and reduce localized flooding. And there's a couple that you actually funded through our ARPA that we're advancing as well.
So my question, Dan, is this project as a result of the grant we got for the Courtney Avenue sidewalk project?
No.
Oh, it's not tied at all?
No,
Okay.
we're not applying any grant dollars at all. We're essentially funding the whole thing with road fund dollars.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So of all enlighten me a little bit. There's a lot of flooding areas in that part of town, right? So just a sense of how this one rose to the top.
It's the same as the other one. Let's talk about the other ones. You have El Dorado was a problem. We have reoccurring drainage that was impacting our residents. I believe this one also is impacting our residents in and around the area. We have the Thiessen Road project, which I think we're coming to you next year. It's just been an area of focus that we've had with the funding opportunities that have been made available, and it's been on our list of projects to do for some time. Some of those came to light a little bit easier with some of the ARPA dollars that the board authorized, but this particular one we're able to deal with road fund dollars.
Yeah, and the cooperation and relationship with Oak Lodge Water Services, knowing that they are the surface water authority, this is kind of, there's dual responsibility here, but is there partnership? Are they doing anything to enhance?
Not in regards to this project. What you do is, it's kind of a separation of church and state in regards to where those waters flow. As you know, you've been on that discussion for some time. A lot of the work that we're doing is within the roadways and the conveyance in certain areas. We can't fix all the conveyance problems that are in and around that area, but the ones that have repeated localized flooding are a priority.
Okay. All right, we'll talk later on that one.
Yeah, great.
Thank you. No further comments? Seeing no objections. Thank you, Dan.
Okay, all of these consent items will be on this Thursday's business meeting agenda for your final action. Next, reallocation of county American Rescue Plan Act funds between two stormwater projects for Water Environment Services. Nancy Bush, County Operating Officer, and Greg Geist, Director of Water Environment Services, will present.
All right, good morning, Commissioners. You're going to be here ARPA quite a bit through the next couple of weeks. We are actually in the process of making sure that we have everything committed and obligated according to the Treasury and what is in the final rule. So this is a part of that process. So Greg is going to go over any technical issues that you may have about the projects, but in general, what we're here today is to ask you if we can move some of their funds around that you've already approved for them from one project to another. There's not any new projects here. It's just moving money around so we can get all the projects done. So the Southeast Aldercrest culvert replacement is going to be reduced by $537,840, and we're going to give that money to the Southeast Clackamas Road Drainage Infrastructure Project. And it's just a general swap of where you had originally put the dollars.
Greg, I assume this will free up monies elsewhere.
Yes.
Explain that.
So this total project cost for these two projects is about $3 million. We're funding about 2.4 from ARPA. And really, these are both linear projects, and they're both south of Thiessen Road towards Aldercrest and Clackamas Road. When we did our stormwater master plan, they were split into two different projects, and so that's why we need to swap the money. But when we did the design, we did the design for that entire linear stretch, and realized that we could do more work in one part of the stream and less work in another part of the stream along the same stretch and be most effective.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a problem with the adjustment and knowing it's revenue neutral, it's not changing anything, so I recognize that. But I do have a question as far as the cooperation and access to the properties along Aldercrest, the neighbors, are they any improvements or, accomplishments as far as getting their cooperation to improve flow through there?
Well, we did a town hall there, and we have pretty good cooperation. Part of the change in the project is that we did have some property owners that weren't interested. It didn't have a significant impact on the overall project or the water quality, so rather than forcing the issue, we are reallocating some funds elsewhere.
Okay. I just want to make sure, as you know, the big target there, at least from my experience, has been the impacts to the residents on Clackamas Road who are sometimes underwater, so to speak. Yeah.
We are well aware of that, and that is the outcome of this project.
Okay.
Commissioner Scholl?
Yes, good morning. And when reallocating to these different projects, is there any risk that these projects will not be completed by the end of 2026 with the final ARPA payment being made before that time?
So we have to have the funds allocated by the end of the year.
Allocated and spent by the end of
yes, yeah,
2026?
by the end of
Is there any
2026.
problem with that?
No, not at all.
Okay, good, thank you.
Seeing no objections, thank you.
Would you
I'm
make a
sorry, there's
formal
another-
motion, please?
There is a second part of this request, I'm sorry.
Beg your pardon, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. So also for DTD, if you recall, you were allowed them, they could make adjustments later, like if one of these comes in short and we can move that money. We want to be able to say in the future, if we need to move money to another eligible project for WES, we want to be able to do that as well. So we do have those two asks.
Okay.
And DTD you approved that for DTD a while ago.
Okay.
WES has not received that
And that's
approval.
part of this document, Gary?
It is.
It is, and if you please make a motion on both.
All
Or
right.
together.
Let's get the motion correct. I will accept a motion, just a moment. Is there okay. At the bottom of page 1, reallocating and future adjustments. Can somebody read that?
Yes, I move to approve the reallocating the previously approved ARPA funds between the two projects as described above to align funding with the revised project scopes and estimated costs.
And number 2, Commissioner Scholl?
And to approve the future adjustments of ARPA obligations between the two projects as needed to fully expend funds in compliance with ARPA regulations.
Second.
Commissioner Schultz has moved that we approve recommendations for ARPA funding for WES. On the bottom of page 1, there are 2 recommendations, and Commissioner Savas has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Would the clerk please take the poll?
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Madam Chair.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Gary,
you.
will this appear on consent agenda, or is this done?
It's done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, short-term rental program update. Elizabeth Comfort, Director of the Finance Department, and Patrick Williams, Deputy Director of the Finance Department, will present. There's a memo in your packet. It's been 1 year since you approved this, Commissioners. This is an initial check-in to tell you how it's going. Go ahead, please, Elizabeth and Patrick.
Thank you. Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director, and I have with me Patrick Williams, who is our Deputy Director of Finance, and he's also the project lead for this since we took this on. Last December, this program started, and we immediately started collecting funds in January. However, in the spring, we contracted with GovOS, which is a software company to help us with those collections, so they are collected automatically. And then the software company also helps us with any complaints. They have a 24-hour hotline, and so it's a very good partner with the county to support this program. So financially, it is breaking even over the past 12 months, or actually close to 12 months. It's gone well. We are still working out the staffing, the personnel costs, and so as those costs decrease, as we streamline what efforts that we need to put in, we'll reduce our costs internally. And then as we continue to increase the number of STR rental programs in the county, then those revenues will increase. And so we do believe that this is a good middle-of-the-road revenue driver for the cost to put this program and this ordinance into action for the county. One of the other benefits that has come to this is we have a transient lodging tax. So for each short-term rental registration, they must first, if they haven't already, register with our transient lodging tax. So that has shown an increase of over $267,000 year-over-year revenue. So the county is seeing a benefit on both sides for these programs. So, is there anything you'd like to add? So we'd just like to open up to questions for you. We have the brief staff report just showing some highlights.
Yeah, I have some questions. Commissioner Savas, you're up.
Well, I'm glad to see that we're, trending towards, making this revenue neutral and getting cost recovery, and it looks as though we'll accomplish that mission. I do also recognize we got off to a very slow start. So with that in mind, can you just give me a calendar, Elizabeth, about how much time was lost, if you will? I mean, I'm not critical of that, but had we started, in full swing, by what, how, was it 6 months delay in getting this launched, or, I'm just we just want to get a sense.
Thank you, Commissioner Savas. It was actually launched in January of '24. We didn't have the software up and running, but we were registering properties. We were collecting the fee. The delay was a result of we selected the software company or the organization to help us run the program through a competitive process. The first vendor that we selected, their bid did not match what they were going to do for us. So we moved on and had to move along to the second vendor. So that was the cause of the delay. Okay. And as with any software project, it takes a long time or take time to modify the software to our needs, upload our data, for instance, from the Assessment and Taxation Division, parcel data of properties in unincorporated Clackamas County, just configuring a lot of different things. So those were the two main reasons why we didn't get the software up and running until June. But the program was running and starting in January.
So about a 5-month delay, so as a result of what you just explained.
A 5-month delay in utilizing the software, yes.
Okay.
So Commissioner Savas, I'd like to direct you to the second page of the staff report is a high summary financial. You'll see that we actually were collecting in January of 2024. We collected $12,416 from the SDR program. So we were doing that manually internally. We were collecting those. Now that the software is assistance, the fees they can pay online and they go directly through a port. And so the software is aiding with that. But we have been collecting since January.
Okay, great. Thanks for pointing that out. I saw that. I just I was aware of the delay because of some public input, some people that were trying to register.
Electronically, right. And we now have that smoothed out.
Okay, thank you.
And that was a minor issue when we launched the software, is that we had to have people log into the software. But the benefits of doing that, and it enables them to make their payments, track their progress, track their rentals. And it also, benefit that I just learned recently, is that they don't have to come to us for tax information. They can go into the GovOS website to get the amount of revenue they collected for tax filing purposes. So that's proven to be a benefit to the owner-operators as well.
Well, a small success or success. So, congratulations. I'm glad we were able to get this to where it is today and where it's going to go.
Thank you. When you start a new program, boy, there's always delays because we're creating something new. I'm not so much concerned about that. I'm just happy that it's up and running. What I am concerned about, though, of 1,066 properties, which seems it's a limited universe, and our software costs are $12,000, and then it went to.
Our software costs are $5,346 a month, and the balance is staff costs and other costs incurred.
So it's going to even out like this. So our software costs, as they use more software, become.
I'm sorry, Chair. It's a flat fee. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, which will reduce the FTE. Did I hear? I thought I heard that in your presentation.
Yeah, as we get familiar with the software and as owner-operators get familiar with the software, it should reduce the amount of staff time needed to help people with registering, making payments. We'll be able to get just a lot of different things. People need to get familiar with it. And the expectation is the amount of personnel costs will go down as we get familiar with it and as owner-operators get familiar with it.
But they may not go down, is kind of what I'm hearing. You're really not sure on that, which is okay, because the finance department was already collecting the TLT tax, okay? And so I'm sure those duties are added to. This is my concern going forward. is there are a limited number of properties, and I don't see any projections on your financial statements to say in 3 years, in 4 years, in 5 years, what those projections for income looks like based upon the investment in the new program that we had. That is my concern. I'm not saying go back and doing it, but it is a new program. We're hoping that it will pan out and do well, but I have some concerns that, yeah, we're capturing people, and this was put in place mainly for complaints. And hopefully that the additional monies that are being collected takes care of the complaint issue. So are you registering more complaints with this?
We've registered very few complaints.
I'm talking complaints of properties that are not in compliance. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. Yes.
For instance, they're partying all night, or they're illegal, or are you getting that type of complaint?
We are. The majority of complaints are either unregistered properties or registered properties who are not posting the required signage when the property is occupied.
And then what do you do with that complaint?
It's logged in, so the complainer can log in or call GovOS, log the complaint, and we send a
FOS?
GovOS, I'm sorry, that's the software. That's the software company that we use. So the complaints the complaint process is managed by the software.
Okay, so they make the complaint online.
Yep.
And then the complaint goes where?
It comes to us and we send a letter to the offender, or the suspected offender. Yeah.
Okay, so it's the finance department that sends the letter, it's not code enforcement.
No.
Correct.
That's interesting. Then how do you enforce the action?
So we're logging these.
Yeah, we're logging those. From my perspective, and I with consultation with the county counsel's office, there's not a lot of enforcement actions in the ordinance that we're able to, other than the potentially losing the short-term rental license with 3 complaints.
Chair, I can help with that if you like.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so if you may remember, the idea was to not burden code enforcement and make this revenue neutral. So when they sign in, essentially it's an affidavit type process in which they are certifying that everything is true. So if they do not, then they can take an action and not burden code enforcement. They can take a legal action. So that's basically the intention of what we put together. So I think that's why I kind of see it as a success, and we're getting the revenue collected properly, and that is they have to meet their legal requirements, and so it's trying to get everyone to be a good player and a good actor.
I understand that. I understand there's a lot of faith involved that people are going to do what's right. I'm just looking at an overwhelming amount of code compliance complaints in Clackamas County, not with this department, mind you, out there, and it seems to be quite large right now. And I'm just concerned about moving forward on this. Commissioner Schull.
Good morning. This short-term rental issue has been a very difficult problem for counties, cities nationwide. And prior to implementing our program here last year, I had so many complaints from property owners on short-term rentals that were not being managed very well. And in the last, 8, 9 months, the calls I've received on short-term rentals that were causing a problem in the neighborhoods have gone way down to almost nothing. So that tells me that what we've done is helped out a great deal. I know that the goal of getting 100% registration will always be a goal that we're going to be working on, because virtually no city or county in the nation has got 100% compliance. But I am happy with the way things are working, and especially the ease of registration. One question I have is, you mentioned that the TLT payments have been improved since the implementation of this program. The State Department of Tourism gave us $200K seed money, and I would expect that they have seen their percentage of those TLT tax payments go up also, correct? And so in time, they'll recover their $200,000 seed money. So keep up the good work, and good luck with appealing to those people who have not yet registered. And also, stay working on those signs, because that seems to be one little thing that some people don't want to do, which they must do to comply with our code. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Commissioner West.
So you're asking today, so it's just an informational update?
Correct.
On the request. Really quick, I'm a little confused, maybe just help me understand this. Paragraph, so under background, paragraph 4, staff projects that the revenue collected from the STR user fee will cover the program's cost, which should make the program self-sustaining in the future. So this is the cost of hiring the GovOS to collect payments. Am I understanding that correctly? So in this background, you're saying in March of 2024, we hired GovOS to enhance to help collect payments and to do the kind of the servicey piece of getting the revenue in. Am I right?
Yes, that will not be a new cost. That's an existing cost.
That was embedded in the program?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And staff projects that the revenue collected from the STR user fee will cover the program's cost, which should make the program self-sustaining in the future. The current monthly cost to operate GovOS, I think, is $12,000, and the monthly revenue average is $13,000. Am I, so?
No, the GovOS software licensing is $5,300 a month. The difference between the $12,000 or so and the $5,300 a month is staff time.
Is staff time?
County staff time, yeah.
County staff time,
And you
okay.
Yeah, and you can see that on the second page, under expenditures, we break out the personnel costs, the startup costs, and then the software costs.
Okay.
And Commissioner West, since you brought it up, I would like to emphasize too, GovOS not only is collecting payments and doing some servicey things, they're actually scrubbing many of, if not all of the short-term rental websites and finding people that are not, as required by the ordinance, not posting their short-term rental number on there, which allows the county to identify who is not registered and send them notifications that they need to register for the program, in addition to several other things. So it's been very helpful for us to meet the needs of the requirements of the ordinance.
So it says that the cost will increase incrementally each year. Personnel costs should decrease if the county and staff and owner-operators familiarize themselves with the program so we get less intensive, right? And so right now, it's kind of close to breaking even, just a little bit more, but we expect that to continue to be in the black moving forward, this service. Terrific. And then I just wanted to understand what I was reading, thank you. And then it says on that first bullet point, 82% of the eligible properties are in compliance with STR programs, 876 out of 1,066. Why are there still, 18% of the properties not in compliance? And then what efforts are we making sure that they are?
They've chosen not to sign up with, there's, we don't have, the Department of Finance does not have an enforcement arm here. It's been, I think, Commissioner Savas, you explained it pretty well, that it's kind of a volunteer and the expectation that people be good neighbors and abide by county ordinances. Since that software, the software does identify people who are not compliant, and we send letters to those people.
So I'm just wondering, I just think that 18% should still be narrowed. I'm going to love to know your thoughts.
Well, yeah, so just so we all know, is that finance, and Elizabeth, correct me if I'm wrong, or anyone, so my understanding is that finance has been the collector of the TLT for way before this program was launched. So it's been a burden, so to speak, and there hasn't been any revenue to help compensate it. So in a way, we're kind of doing that now a little bit. So this is more than just cost recovery. It's certainly more efficient and so forth. So, but if you don't sign up, you're not signing the affidavit aspect of it, so we can't enforce it, but they're still in violation. So if there's a mechanism or there's revenue there or an opportunity to enforce that, they probably have to pay back taxes as well, perhaps, I don't know. But that's something we can look at in the future if we want to recover that.
Can we send them a tax bill and put it to collections? Like, I'm curious about how we make this more uniform and equitable across all
Yeah.
STRs.
My first response would be that would be difficult because the amount that they pay is based on the amount that they've rented the short-term rental out, and we don't really know that unless they've registered with the program. So the fee is the percentage fee is based on how much income they collect a month.
It's just not fair. So how do we put teeth behind this?
Maybe
This isn't teeth.
maybe we invite our legal counsel to, I mean, not, it's something for another conversation for maybe a work session on how we do that, if that's the interest of the board.
Oh, I think we initially started it to be, like Commissioner Savas says, more voluntary, not to be punitive, because it was my concern, maybe other commissioners too, that we were going to be overly regulatory in this area and possibly too punitive. That's why we ended up where we are on this. And so, Gary?
This is an informational update on a 2-year pilot project you approved. So I would recommend now's not the time to make changes, but we should have a policy session, though, to prepare for the end of year 2 on what you'd like to see going forward.
And when is the end of year 2?
It's 1 year from now.
Okay.
Yeah. And one other note, and that is that when this program was first initiated, or not initiated, but proposed, it was a $600 annual sign-up fee, or
Oh, yeah.
fee. So we didn't do that. So,
It was 800, wasn't it? Yeah, it was 800.
Yeah, it was 800, okay.
Yeah.
But the point of the matter is that we refined this so that again, it was voluntary, it was free, and we still get cost recovery, so it's a win-win.
I think it's totally winning now. Sorry, I don't mean to jump right in. I think it's totally, like, it is a win. 80-something% or 82% is for voluntary, being good actors, being the type of, short-term rental owners that we want in the community, small business, fantastic. But now it's begging the question, and maybe we don't have to revisit in a year, if I have to pay the tax and I'm doing it the right way, I sure as hell don't want the bad actor next to me not participating and paying their fair share in the tax either. That just comes down to being fair. And so I think we have a conversation to have with at least 18% more of the, and we're not going to always have 100%, it's always going to be a little bit of a hassle. But I personally now was like, well, I'm glad this is going well, but it could go better if everybody was doing their part and following the rule of law here. So that's my concern.
Thank you. Commissioner Scholl.
Yeah, I just want to say that in 2021 and 2022, when we had dozens of residents come in here and testify about the importance of the county implementing a STR code, we had, it was a big problem. And so the results we've had in a year of about 82% compliance is tremendous, because in 2021, 2022, I read everything there was on STRs in America. In many cities, if they can get 20% compliance, they're doing good. We're at 82%, so we're doing very well.
Good.
What we need to do is continue to work with our PGA and other means to compel, encourage those other people to comply. And so, thank you for your work.
Thank you for this presentation. It's been very informative, and keep doing the good work.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Gary, what's next?
Thank you. Next, review of your board business meeting agenda for this Thursday, December 5, 2024. You have a previously approved land use issue. You have 2 public hearings. One is an ordinance amending the county code for park rules. Second is an annexation boundary change for West, and all the consent agenda items from today's meeting. If you have any question on any of these items, let me know, and staff will answer it for you prior to Thursday. Next, advisory board and commission appointments. Andrew, go ahead.
Thank you. Madam Chair, there are 3 advisory boards and commissions today for your consideration. The first is the Vector Control District. The Vector Control District currently has 3 openings on their Board of Trustees due to 1 term expiration and 2 resignations. Through the recruitment process, 3 applications were received and 2 are recommended for appointment. 1 applicant is new and 1 applicant is currently on the board. The recommendations are Lowell Hannah for a 5th term ending November 16th, 2028, and Waylon Martin for a 1st term ending November 16th, 2028. The board could also select other candidates from the applicant list or require further recruitment. Madam Chair.
I will accept a motion.
Move to approve the slate of the Vector Control District.
Seconded.
Commissioner Savas has moved that we approve for the Clackamas County Vector Control District nominees Lowell Hannah and Waylon Martin, and Commissioner Shaw has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Would the clerk please take the poll?
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Madam Chair.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. What's next?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next is the Library Advisory Board. The Clackamas County Library Advisory Board currently has 3 openings on the commission. Through the recruitment process, 1 application was received from an existing member and 3 applications were from new applicants for a total of 4 applications. The recommendation is to reappoint 1 member and appoint 2 new members. The recommendations are as follows. Natalie Smith to a 1st full term ending June 2028, Ryan Healy for a 1st term ending June 2028, and Dan McHugh ending 1st term June of 2028. The board could select other candidates or require further recruitment. Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion.
I move to approve Natalie Smith, Ryan Healy, and Dan McHugh to the Clackamas County Library Advisory Board.
Second.
Commissioner Shaw has moved we appoint Natalie Smith, Ryan Healy, and Dan McHugh for the Clackamas County Library Advisory Board, and Commissioner Savas has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the poll?
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Madam Chair.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much. And next,
Thank you, Madam Chair. The third and final boards and commissions for consideration today is the Clackamas County Fair Board, which currently has 3 openings on their commission due to term expirations. Through the recruitment process, 8 applications were received and 3 are recommended for appointment. 1 applicant is new and 2 applicants are currently on the board. The recommendation is as follows. Lauren Bell for a 2nd term ending December of 2027. Raylene Kemmeyer for a 5th term ending December of 2027. And Kristen Downs for a 1st term ending December of 2027. The board could select other candidates or require further recruitment. Madam Chair.
thank you. I'll accept a motion.
I move to approve Lauren Bell, Raylene Kammeyer, and Kristen Downs to the Clackamas County Fair Board.
Second.
Commissioner Scholl has moved to appoint Lauren Bell, Raylene Kammeyer, and Kristen Downs to the Clackamas County Fair Board. And Commissioner Savas has seconded the motion. Further discussion? Commissioner Scholl.
I just want to say that I sat in on the selection board last week. These are really good people, very dedicated. Lauren Bell, attorney Raylene Kammeyer has been on the Fair Board for 15 or more years. And Kristen Downs is a Canby resident. Very good people, very good additions to the Fair Board.
Thank you. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I just want to echo that as well as recognize the appointees for Vector Control and Library Advisory Board and County Fair Board, and also the people that are serving currently that are not up for appointment, just to recognize their volunteering service, and want to thank them personally. But those especially that, like Raylene and others that have served several terms over and over, it's a long-term commitment, and Lowell Hannah as well, so thank you.
Absolutely. So, the Fair Board has had some new appointees in the last year of people of retirements moving on, and I think it's going to be very well served. Seeing no objections, would you please take the poll?
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Madam Chair.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Gary.
Final issues item is Commissioner Communications. You also have a policy session that we're a little over time on, and staff does have a hard stop. If you would maybe consider doing the policy session next and then return to Commissioner Communications.
Yeah, we went long this morning. Is the policy session, it can wait?
It needs to be today, but
Okay, Commissioners, would you be willing to forego Commissioner Communications so we can do the policy session for right now?
No problem.
Okay, and let's do the policy session.
okay, thank you. So the single policy session today is County Cost Recovery Policy and Budget Development Framework Policy. Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director, and Cindy Becker, Project Manager in County Administration, will present. You reviewed this earlier this year. Staff is coming back to you with the edits you requested. Go ahead, please, Elizabeth and Cindy.
Thank you, Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director. Before you, Chair and Commissioners, we have two policies on this session this morning. One is a cost recovery policy that was adopted in April of 2020. We brought it back in July with some revisions and recommendations. And the second one is a new policy. It's a budget development principle policy, just to ensure that we are following your direction when we are putting our annual budgets together. And so both of these have minor changes since the July's presentations. The first, if I take them individually, is the cost recovery policy. We wanted to look at setting a cap on an automatic increase for those annual charges to have rate increase charges of 3% and up to 3%. They may not be all the way up to 3%, but want to be considered taken to you if we do need to increase them greater than 3%. That's the highest point that we want to call out on this cost recovery draft. And so today, looking at this, if you have any questions, we ask if you would consider approving these changes as written or asking for any modifications or not accepting them.
Thank you. The 3% was landed on because that would be consumer price index increase year to year. And I do think that some of these increase in fees were becoming a little bit onerous to the people who the fee is levied on. So I like seeing this. This also gives certainty to the departments in that if they see out-of-control costs or their costs for some reason going up that we're not aware of, they can, the 3% would be available to them. Now, is this automatic, 3% cost increase? Does the board have to vote on this every year?
Well, it says that annually, that you would, by resolution, do this, and the increase is no more than 3% annually, so you have some flexibility there. And so we would look at it as a one-time resolution, a kind of a one and done.
Okay.
So you would not approve it every year. If you approve this policy, it's automatic.
Okay. I'm just trying to remember our discussions. And then number I, overhead. Overhead includes such costs as payroll processing, accounting services, computer usage, rent, but those are normal business expenses. So those should be able to be calculated. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I think I understand what we're doing here today, and I know we talked about this before, but, and I do understand the language, that's at least the wording. So my question is, again, the sentence particularly, unless otherwise approved by the board for specific programs or services, fees and fines will automatically increase up to 3%, consistent with the current amount of CPI, essentially. So what if the said fee or fine does not have a relationship to CPI?
Commissioner, this is not based on a specific relationship. This is just a guide for the county for all the fees and fines, so there was never any intent to link a specific fee to the guide, to the CPI. It's a guide for the county for all of for all of the fees.
Right. I guess what I'm saying, I mean, let's just, I mean, I don't have a good example. I'm sure, because I've, over all the years, seen the pages and pages of all the fees and fines, I'm not sure that some of them are really relevant to CPI is my concern. So let's just say there's an over collection or the fee or fine is like not, I won't say, it's not, I won't say acceptable, maybe it's not proper. I'm struggling for the word here. But is there a means of where the board could actually reduce the fee so it's more in line with either the competition or another agency or whatnot, if it's found? If it's too much, you know, it collects and collects and collects and becomes higher and higher and higher, and it's really not serving the purpose, and there's a downfall to it, we can come back and recalibrate that particular one.
Yes, it's actually in the policy here. A department can request to you, we really don't need the 3% this year, it's not needed. In which case, with your approval, it would not be increased for a
So
particular.
where is that specifically written, Gary?
I am on page 2 of the policy itself, the cost recovery fees and fines, page 2 of that policy, section 5A2.
5A2, okay.
It's actually page 4 of the packet.
My apologies, correct.
It's okay. Yes, go ahead.
I was just going to add, during the budget process, we also look at trends. And so if there's a program that's increasing revenue without the associated costs increasing, that will be called out. So we can analyze and monitor if the revenue is exorbitant to what the need is too, and then decisions can be made.
So as that's worded, Roman numeral 5A2, it's a request, so is that requested to come back to the BCC, or is it literally automatic? The way it's worded, it's a request by staff to come to us, is that correct?
It would come back to the board, you're the final arbiter. Yes.
All right. Thank you, that covers my
Other
concern.
questions? Okay. Let me go back up just a moment. Let me get my bearings. We have 2 options, and we have a recommendation. Gary, do we take them separately or together?
Separate, please.
Okay, Commissioners, on page 2, there's a recommendation for a motion, and we need 2 of those. First, on cost recovery.
I move to approve the revised cost recovery policy.
I'll second.
Commissioner Scholl has moved we approve the revised cost recovery policy for Clackamas County departments, and Commissioner West has seconded that. Further discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the poll?
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Madam Chair.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. I will now accept the second recommendation.
I move to approve the budget development principles, I move to approve the new budget development principles.
Second.
Commissioner Scholl has moved we approve the new budget development principles, and Commissioner Savas has seconded that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the poll?
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Madam Chair.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So now you may, if you wish, you may return to Commissioner Communications.
I
That's
think
your
we
last
will.
item.
Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing that. Commissioner Scholl, are you up?
I just have one quick thing,
You bet.
and that is having to do with Metro Waste Management. Metro has a regional waste advisory committee that they want to begin to include elected representatives on. So I just want to remind you that sometime in January, when you do the new liaison duties, that you remember to appoint somebody to the Metro Regional Waste Advisory Committee. They're going to have an important role in looking at holding down costs to residents, also working on infrastructure projects for Metro Regional Waste in the future. So it's going to be an important assignment, something to think about for January. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have much to say other than a lot of transportation meetings this week. I had a very long day yesterday, and I sat on the first Public Transit Advisory Committee meeting. Found it very fast. State committee under ODOT. Found it very fascinating and learned a lot. A long meeting, 2.5 hours, plus the R1 Act meeting last evening. Thursday, I will be missing the board meeting, the business meeting for the Joint Committee on Transportation's group meetings, the work groups on Finish What We Started. That'll be Thursday, another 3-hour meeting or so approximately, and then follow-up meetings that afternoon and the day after. So very busy week.
Thank you. Commissioner West.
I hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving and had a time to reflect on all the things that we need to be thankful for, to be kind to one another, have gratitude. So I know our family had a great Thanksgiving. Hope everybody feels rested as we get back to work. I want to give a little update. We haven't really spoke to this much. I don't know if you guys realize we had an election in November. I don't know if anybody heard, but one of the things that this board referred to the voters was a question, and the question was, shall psilocybin products manufacturers and psilocybin service centers be permanently banned in unincorporated areas of Clackamas County? That was, I believe, Measure 3-621, and the voters of Clackamas County overwhelmingly said, yes, it shall be banned. I guess my question is, at this point, Gary, what is the update about this moving forward? Was this just a question to the voters, or is this now the enforcement of law, now that we know the will of the voters on this specific issue?
That was that was not a question, that was an action.
Binding.
The boards have approved it, so.
Perfect. I just want a clarification on that for the public. I thought so. And so I think that the board understood the pulse and the appetite of our community pretty well on this specific and controversial issue. But we left it up to the voters to decide, and they made it pretty clear here by around 5-6 point margin that they do not want those businesses or services in unincorporated Clackamas County. I do believe that other cities within Clackamas County also banned, so it's not just within the unincorporated areas. Some of our 16 cities, some of them did also choose to ban that. I just wanted an update to that. We haven't spoke much about it since the election, so that's all I have.
Thank you for bringing that up. Of the cities that had that referral, did all the cities support the ban? Was there any outlier city that did not want to ban based on the vote?
No.
I don't know, we'll check that.
Not sure.
I think the bans passed almost everywhere except for a very small city in the coast, North
Yeah,
Coast.
they passed by council action. There was no, I don't recall seeing a Clackamas County city measure on the ballot.
On the ballot itself,
For psilocybin like we did. Ours was the only one of psilocybin.
I thought I saw something from Lake Oswego.
Yeah, I think that was council action.
Okay, council action. That could be very well.
I'm not sure.
We will confirm for you.
Thank you very much for bringing that forward. I think that's very important in light of the Measure 110 and the diversion program when we're trying to get people off these very addictive drugs and change the homeless situation in the county and across the state. It was a very important vote. I have nothing further to say today. See no further business. The Board of County Commissioners are adjourned.